Number 10. This video was taken at night in a parking garage somewhere in West India. A woman was apparently acting normal until she was suddenly attacked by what some bystanders later described as a ghost. Watch this part and tell me if you think she is having delusions or fighting off a spiritual possession. Try to translate if possible too, please. I did not think much of this video until I noticed what could be a strange paranormal disturbance. Some kind of fast-moving white objects repeatedly appeared during the harshest times of her struggle, like here for instance. Poor camera quality makes it hard to tell if these are some kind of spirit orbs or just insects. If these are insects and nothing more, I find it weird that there are only just a few of them, and how they only seem to appear during key moments of the video when she is in the most distress. Number 9. A security guard is patrolling the Tomás Adolfo Duco Stadium in Buenos Aires, Argentina, when he hears a loud commotion coming from somewhere deep below. The guard is all alone and very reluctant to find the source of the noise without help, but the risk of losing his job pushes him forward. I was thinking it could be some sort of mechanical problem with the furnace, but as this next part shows, it was something much worse. Some kind of invisible force repeatedly slams a flimsy wooden door over and over again, yet there is absolutely nothing on the other side. He never does film the ground though, so maybe somebody ducked out of sight at the last minute. Still, that wouldn't explain what happens behind his back moments later. Something which I have no logical explanation for despite watching multiple times.
La tercera vez.
He crosses the supply room and then turns around just in time to see a quick moving phantom shadow. Even if someone was hiding behind the door, there would have been no way for them to get around the security guard and sneak away without him noticing. None of it adds up, so tell me what you think happened. Number 8. A YouTuber named Advil thinks he is alone until he hears voices off in the distance. He soon finds himself drawn to the stairs leading down into the basement for reasons he cannot explain. Something just feels out of place down there, but he isn't sure what. He calls out and gets an incredibly strange and eerie reply from the darkness below. Maybe if you are wearing headphones, you can tell me what is being said here. It almost sounds like they are whispering, "He's here."
Hello?
Moments later, Advil receives an undeniable confirmation that something is in the house with him. A dark figure somehow stands out against the pitch black background as it crosses the doorway. It makes no attempt to go up the steps and reveal its true form. If this is real, then whatever is down there apparently wants to stay down there, and possibly one day take Advil with him. Number 7. A man named Philip Shapiro sets up a camera after being woken up every night by his bedroom door opening on its own. The door opens as usual, but this time Philip catches more paranormal activity than he ever expected was possible. His bedroom door hangs open and a shadow plays across the wall despite there being no apparent light source. Notice how the left side of the room actually grows darker when the shadow passes through. Tell me if this is a sign of the paranormal or simply video editing. Number 6. This CCTV video comes from somewhere in China. A person off camera shines a flashlight all around a building entrance, obviously searching for something of interest. When they stop a short while later, this creature makes a rather daring escape. Slow down the video and you can see what many are describing as some sort of dragon. This doesn't seem very likely and is probably CGI, but if this is a real spirit, then I guess it could take whatever form it wanted, including that of a dragon. Number 5. A YouTuber named Jonathan senses something outside of his home and begins recording. He doesn't make it very far before he finds the source of his unease staring directly back at him.
Okay, guys, so...
A small set of beady eyes in the darkness sends Jonathan running back into his home. I was positive it was just a cat until I noticed there are other eyes in the video too, like when he turns around here. Maybe Jonathan does have an overactive imagination and was frightened by a neighborhood cat, or maybe he really is being watched in his own yard by an unseen network of nightmarish creatures. Number 4. This old television always seems to turn off by itself at 6:30 in the morning. First, they record the small blue screen as it goes back, and then they zoom in on the remote control sitting untouched on the table. My only explanation is that they could have been holding a second remote, or maybe the neighbor has a universal remote and watches television at the same time every day. If these possibilities were somehow eliminated, then I would definitely agree that this is paranormal in nature. Number 3. It's 5:36 in the morning, hours before anyone should be inside of the Safety Harbor Public Library in Florida. Everything looks to be in order until this book goes flying off the shelf for absolutely no reason. The opening librarian was surprised to find a book lying perfectly balanced on the floor the next day, so they checked the security camera only to find this strange occurrence. Even if this was set up and someone was standing on the other side of the shelf to push a book to the ground, there's no way they could have made the book balance perfectly on its side like that. It really is as if a poltergeist purposefully made the book land in that position, so as to attract as much fearful suspicion as possible, and apparently it worked. Number 2. The Hernandez family is sitting down for a meal in Clovis, New Mexico, when something way out of place starts across their CCTV system. They walk over to the television for a closer look, still unable to believe what they are seeing. An all-white entity literally fades into view and seemingly jogs a short distance across their driveway before disappearing again. Although it's a little blurry, you can clearly make out the movements of what seems to be a body in motion. Some people are saying that this is a camera glitch that occurs when a jogger is wearing bright reflective clothing, but I'm not so sure if that's the case here. The Hernandez family did some research of their own and eventually came into contact with someone who knew about the history of their neighborhood.
I believe it was his uncle had a house on this corner lot, and his uncle passed away.
With this in mind, I think both explanations are equally reasonable, but I'd like to know which one you think is the truth based on what you've seen. Before we get to number 1, a YouTuber named Lou Rock is live streaming from a supposedly haunted location known only as the Yellow House. He and his friend are cautiously poking around the abandoned building when a faint noise sends them running directly into a large room to investigate. The room is bare except for an inordinate number of gnarled clothes hangers in the closet, which begin twisting in unison, almost as if in acknowledgement of their presence.
There's not a window open in here.
Are they moving? It looks like they're moving.
Wow.
This is on live stream, so you can see for yourself at no point did they touch the hangers. I think the hangers really are being moved by an unseen force based on what I'm about to show you next. As you can see from this video, there is no wind moving the blinds or curtains at all, so it couldn't have been a draft moving the hangers. They continue to find more weird miscellaneous objects scattered around the house, including a rope tied to a ripped kid's shoe.
It looks like somebody was hung up by their feet.
Giant holes have been punched into the wall of this room, either from destructive teens or from the previous house owner during an aggressive fit of rage. Just as they are sensing something deeply wrong with the kitchen, something brings them back into the room with blown out walls.
That feeling in here.
Yeah, me too.
What's that?
They are genuinely creeped out by now and don't make it much further before the sound returns again.
Weird. Alright, we're out of here.
At this point, Lou Rock wisely decides to leave before he becomes the Yellow House's next permanent resident. Halloween is a time when the barriers between our world and the spirit realm are thought to be the thinnest, meaning you never know what you might encounter.